Shalom, Shalom, and welcome. Welcome to the White Rose Family Channel. If you're tuning in for the first time, my name is Symmanayah, and these are the words I'm compelled to present before an awakening set-apart nation. To those who are drawn by the Almighty Creator, the Almighty Father Yahuah, to Yahusha Mashiach. Those whom the scriptures make mention of in John 6:44. But before I get started, let me say this. The views expressed in these messages do not necessarily reflect the views of the owners, managers, shareholders, and/or sponsors of this media platform. With that said, let's get started. The final Exodus, Countdown 2023. The long-awaited Exodus that's been an expectation among those who have been awakened to the truth and drawn by the Almighty Father, as I stated. In this installment, I began a sequence within the final Exodus called Yashar'al, Set Apart Yashar'al in Motion. This is Set Apart Yashar'al in Motion, number 6. You see, O Yashar'al, there are details, there are processes, there are things we must be mindful of, things we will witness as we begin to come together to fulfill what has been written centuries ago. And in this installment, I want to address the matter of selection and expertise. Selection and expertise. You see, O Yashar'al, though there are those who fail to discuss details and processes, but yet say the end is near, are missing a component to fulfilling the final Exodus. Time will prove. We will witness specific details, processes, and assignments in the coming days ahead. O Yashar'al, come with me as I present the case why this is important. The selection process, chosen and sealed. Let me begin by reading Revelation chapter 7, verse 2 through 4 first. And I saw another messenger coming up from the rising of the sun, holding the seal of the living Almighty One. And he cried with a loud voice to the 4 messengers to whom it was given to harm the earth and the sea, saying, do not harm the earth, nor the sea, nor the trees, until we have sealed the servants of our Almighty One upon their foreheads. And I heard the number of those who were sealed, 144,000, sealed out of all the tribes of the children of Yashar'al. My brothers and sisters, first I want to say this. Look around. Do you believe the earth, the sea, and the trees have been harmed? Do you believe within climate change and global warming, we're seeing some extraordinary conditions upon the face of this earth? Look again and be assured. In the midst of this will let us know that we have been sealed. Those whom the Almighty Father has foreordained, has chosen to fulfill, demonstrating that his promises to his children are and will be fulfilled, are alive and sealed. But notice if you come down to the 9th verse, so many people stop at that 4th verse and believe that it's just 144,000 that's sealed. And at first, I asked the question, why do they think it's just the 144,000? And then, my brothers and sisters, I went to pray about it. And I believe that the Almighty Father took me to Revelation 14:13. And it talked about them 14:3 in Revelation say, and they sang a renewed song before the throne and before the four living creatures and the elders. And no one was able to learn that song except the 144,000 who were redeemed from the earth. It is my belief, O Yashar'al, if you examine that chapter thoroughly, it speaks of them being on Mount Zion. Let me back up just to make it clear to you. Revelation 14:1 says, and I looked and I saw a lamb standing on Mount Zion, and with him 144,000 having his father's name written upon their foreheads. And I heard a voice out of the heaven like the voice of many waters and like the voice of a loud thunder. And I heard the sound of the harpers playing their harps. And they sang a renewed song before the throne and before the four living creatures and the elders. And no one was able to learn that song except the 144,000 who were redeemed from the earth. Many people who lean on the text and say the scriptures interpret themselves, who are void of discerning, what does the author, what does the Almighty Father Yahuah, who sent his spirit in Yahusha's name as our teacher, our comforter, our guide, what does he have to say on the matter? And I say this to you, O Yashar'al, because you read 14:1 through 14:5, it didn't say they were the only ones sealed and they were the only ones redeemed. And many people believe that the scriptures interpret themselves and saying that everyone that's gathered from the four corners of the earth couldn't fit on Mount Zion, which I believe is the true Mount Sinai, currently known as Yashar'al. They couldn't fit. It's a plateau on that mountain. But all that is gathered from the four corners of the earth will be centered around the mountain. You see, so 14:1 is saying how the 144,000 who were redeemed, who were sealed, sang a song. They were on Mount Zion. But let's go back to Revelation 9th verse, 7th chapter, 9th verse, 9 and 10. It say, after this I looked and saw. This is the same chapter that talked about those being sealed. I saw a great crowd which no one was able to count, out of all nations and tribes and peoples and tongues, standing before the throne and before the Lamb, dressed in white robes and palm branches in their hands, and crying out with a loud voice, saying, deliverance belongs to our Almighty One who sits on the throne and to the Lamb. I spoke of the Almighty Father drawing us to Yahusha Mashiach. For no man can come unto the Father except they acknowledge his plan, which was his word manifest, resurrected, and his spirit sent in Yahusha's name. Yes, we will identify different nationalities and different tribes. We will see the fulfillment of the 144,000 as it is written, and we will see ultimately one body, one nation represented under the banner of Yashar'al. Remember, if you listen to the previous recording prior to this one, I talked about two tribes at war. One was Edom and one was Yashar'al. That's what's going to happen. Two nations at war. And we will find that those drawn by the Almighty Father will rise up. And the banner, the ultimate banner, will be Yashar'al. You see, my brothers and sisters, the great multitude were sealed as well. Drop down to the 13th verse. I'm still in the 7th chapter of Revelation, 13 and 14. And one of the elders responded, saying to me, who are these dressed in white robes, and where did they come from? And I said to him, Master, you know. And he said to me, these are those coming out of the great distress, having washed their robes and made them white in the blood of the Lamb. So I say to you, O Yashar'al, do you not think they were sealed and protected to come out of the great tribulation? Do not be deceived by those that say the scriptures interpret themselves. The scriptures as they are, and as I mentioned, have been tampered with. The name Jesus Christ, God and Lord, was not in the original text, nor was it meant for us to raise up these terms. Yahuah, the Almighty One, whose word came before us, demonstrating his sacrifice, the resurrection, and sent his spirit in Yahusha's name. For Yahusha said, if I be lifted up, I will draw all men to myself, as written in John 12:32. I say to you, O Yashar'al, in this final exodus, those that are sealed is for a purpose. It's for a reason. Therefore, the selection process is chosen and sealed. Do you think we were just sealed for the fun of it? For the Almighty One's entertainment? I say to you, my brothers and sisters, we're sealed for a reason, for a purpose. There's work to be done, and there will be skilled operators and passengers along this journey. Things that must be done will get done, O Yashar'al. Come with me. There is much work to be done. And consider these words in 2 Thessalonians chapter 3, verse 6 through 13. Consider what it says here, O Yashar'al. But we command you, brothers, in the name of our Master Yahushua Messiah, that you withdraw from every brother who walks disorderly and not according to the tradition which you received from us. For you yourselves know how you ought to imitate us. For we were not disorderly among you, nor did we eat anyone's bread without paying for it, but worked with labor and toiled night and day in order not to burden any of you. Not because we did not have authority, but to make ourselves an example for you to imitate us. For even we were with you, we commanded you this: if anyone does not wish to work, neither let him eat. For we hear of some among you walking disorderly, not working at all, but are busybodies. But we command and urge such through our Master Yahushua Messiah to settle down, work, and eat their own bread. And you, brothers, do not grow weary in doing good. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al, each of us will discover that there are tasks. There's much work to be done. And in this work, there are different members in the body. I want you to take a pen, a pencil, or use your phone or tablet. But I want you to jot down a note to read Romans 12th chapter, 1 Corinthians 12th chapter, and Ephesians 4th chapter. Each of these chapters speak of the many members but one body, that we are one in Yahusha. Please read those chapters, Romans 12, 1 Corinthians 12, and Ephesians 4. Much work to be done. Let me just pose some questions, O Yashar'al, as you find me doing often. For out of questions comes answers. And I'm not talking about foolish questions. I'm talking about questions that are relevant to the building of the body of the set-apart family of Yashar'al. Would you want a plumber spending most of his or her energy nurturing babies? Would you want a warrior spending most of their time in a kitchen or cooking? Would you want a leader, a shepherd, spending more time with the women alone? Do you think ongoing training and development is needed? You see, Yashar'al, we talk about the things we believe and what's going to happen and all this and end times and so forth. But how many of us have asked the question of what does it take? What is expected? What details, what work? The lazy and the slothful will oftentimes just say, don't worry about it. Yah take care of it. Yah do this. I'm not worried. I'm not fretful. They disregard the scriptures that say the fear of Yahuah is the beginning of knowledge. And fools despise wisdom and discipline. And they use the excuse that Yah is going to take care of it all, failing to recall that in the scriptures, he works in us, through us, one towards another. and through his chosen leaders. We will learn when to move and when to rest. That is important, O Yashar'al. And the selection and expertise, instructions and guidance will come from the leaders. Leaders who are chosen by the Almighty Father. It will be confirmed. And some of us will not like those that are chosen. Continue with me, O Yashar'al. There must be and will be selection and expertise of various tasks among us. Come with me, Yashar'al. As I read this, I want you to know the true Shabbats will be recognized and we will rest. Speaking specifically of the weekly Shabbat, let me read Exodus chapter 20, verse 8 through 11. Remember the Shabbat day to set it apart. 6 days you labor and shall do all your work. But the seventh day is a Shabbat of Yahuah, your Almighty One. You do not do any work, you, nor your son, nor your daughter, nor your male servant, nor your female servant, nor your cattle, nor your stranger, who is within your gates. For in 6 days Yahuah made the heavens and the earth, the sea and all that is in them, and rested on the seventh day. Therefore Yahuah blessed the Shabbat day and set it apart. Let me say this, O Yashar'al. First of all, Yahuah being the beginning and the end is light. Many people read the passage in Genesis and think it started with darkness, then morning, then evening, that was a day. It started with light. Yahuah is that light. First of all, they're comprehending it. They're using it the way their perception is guiding their brain, how they were taught to comprehend, instead of leaning and trusting on the Almighty Father to make clear what is being said. Consider this, O Yashar'al. They did not have electricity. They did not have night lights. Consider also that the Hebrews, the Abraham, were most widely an agricultural people and tradesmen. And so their work was done during daylight hours. And when the sun set, they went into their tents and they went to sleep. Some may have burnt candles or a fire, but notice that the Almighty Father wouldn't have them burning up all the trees or the fuel. To be up at night was a time to rest. And you woke up at the crack of dawn. As soon as daylight came again and you began to work, it was a cycle. So 6 cycles of work during daylight hours. Some started working right at the crack of dawn, but they worked during daylight hours. And as the sun went down, they stopped. And they kept doing that. 6 cycles, 6 regiments. The 7th crack of dawn, the 7th beginning of daylight. Instead of doing that same cycle, that same regiment, they were and are ordered to rest. We will learn when a day begins and when the day ends. We will learn how to guard and honor the weekly Shabbat as well as the other Shabbats. Imagine this, O Yashar'al. Imagine if you looked at all the different camps that confess to know the truth, and everyone starting to rest at different times. Imagine that it takes work, the work of several men to get a certain job done in a given time. And so if those who start guarding Shabbat as it was getting dark and they stayed up saying we're honoring Shabbat and we're up, and they be up late, and at the crack of dawn, they're tired because they said we was up celebrating and guarding Shabbat, then they would not be as rested as those who went to sleep when it turned dark and woke up refreshed. Those who woke up refreshed would be strong and would be able to work together. You see, O Yashar'al, imagine someone that said, no, Shabbat is actually on a Friday or a Wednesday. We're going by the lunar calendar. Each of these different groups would have rested a whole 24 hours as they defined it. That's not going to work, oh Yashar'al. That's not going to work. And we will see that the Almighty Father wants us to work together to accomplish certain tasks that are necessary for this final Exodus, that are necessary for the structuring, the functioning of a set-apart awakening nation. Let me read the following, my brothers and sisters. There will be times for us, times for working together. Consider Psalms 133, 1 through 3. It reads, "See how good and how pleasant it is for brothers to dwell together in unity. Like the precious oil on the head running down on the beard of Aharon running down on the collar of his robe. Like the dew of Hermon that comes down on the mountains of Sion. For there Yahuah commanded the blessing, life forever." You see, Yashar'al, my brothers and sisters, we will adjust. There will be a transformation. Correction will come. The selection and expertise will prove those who understand what must be done, how it must be done, and who is charged to do these things. Unity will come, O Yashar'al. To work together is to function just as our bodies work together as one. We will see as many members of a set-apart family, a set-apart nation. We will learn to work together as one in unity. Come with me, my brothers and sisters. We will discover how the Spirit of Yahusha provides guidance through his chosen ones. Let me read the following, O Yashar'al. Come with me to 1 Corinthians 3:16. 1 Corinthians 3:16 says, "Do you not know that you are a dwelling place of the Almighty One, and that the Spirit of the Almighty One dwells in you?" I have seen individuals say, "Oh, there's no way he dwells in you. You're doing some wicked stuff. You're doing some crazy stuff." My brothers and sisters, this is why I talk about the purpose of the 7 major feast days and how that 7 major feast days, that Feast of Tabernacle, is to bring us to a point that we understand the structure of these earthen vessels, that within these earthen vessels, there is a brain that is conditioned, programmed based on where we were raised, how we were raised, and what or who educated us. But beyond the brain, beyond all the flesh, is the inward man, the spirit of a man. That is the spirit of a man that goes back to the Almighty Father. It doesn't say go to heaven, it says goes back to him. Remember, he's everywhere at all times, and he's designated a place for his children when they physically die, for the earthen vessels to go back to the earth, but their spirit go to a place of rest. And those who die in wickedness go to hell, a place of torture and torment. And even death and hell is thrown in the lake of fire upon the day of judgment. So within us, and when you see a brother or sister doing some things that are wrong, the Almighty Father cleans his tabernacle. He cleans his house. His discipline comes. Now, if you don't see the discipline of the Almighty Father evident in a person, then we must question, is this tabernacle indwelled by the Spirit of Yahusha? Is the Almighty Father's Spirit in unity with that person's inward man? 2 Corinthians 3:17, come with me, my brothers and sisters. It say, "Now Yahuah the Spirit is the Spirit, and where the Spirit of Yahuah is, there is freedom." This freedom, some passages will say liberty, is for him to move about as he see fit, for him to guide us as he see fit. Not for us to take some text and dictate where a person can go and where they can't go and throw text at them and say, that's what the Bible says. That's what the word says. So many have taken scriptures out of context and slung and beat people with scriptures, disregarding where it writes, He prepareth my table in the midst of my enemies. You see, O Yashar'al, there are duties, there are tasks, there are individuals with certain expertise that will step into a den of wicked to grab the lost sheep, to grab one who have been led astray, to restore such a one back into the fold. My brothers and sisters, the Spirit of Yahusha works in us. 2 Corinthians 13:5 says, examine yourselves whether you are in the belief. Prove yourselves. Or do you not know yourselves that Yahushua Messiah is in you, unless you are disproved? Come with me, my brothers and sisters. Understand this tabernacle we have. Understand, as each member in this tabernacle, together collectively, we make up the tabernacle of Yahuah. We are his vessel. And some will say temple. Come with me to Colossians 3:16 and 17, O Yashar'al. It says, let the word of Messiah dwell in you richly, teaching and admonishing one another in all wisdom, singing with pleasure in your hearts to the Master in psalms and songs of praise and spiritual songs. And whatever you do in word or deed, do all in the name of Master Yahusha, giving thanks to the Almighty One, the Father, through him. I have witnessed community heads, pastors, deacons, bishops, even those who call themselves priests, do things and say that this is what they did. They don't lift up Yahusha. You hear them speak more of themselves or their community, their camp, their group, more than Yahusha. Do you not know, out of obedience to Yahusha, that's how we lift him up? Out of our obedience. That's how John 12:32 is fulfilled. That's how this final Exodus will come to be. It's by lifting him up, giving him credit, recognizing his presence, and making known his name before the world. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al, selection and expertise are things that we must consider and be mindful of. Prepared to identify individuals with the abilities to know in the act. Consider this, O Yashar'al. In the practical world, there's a term nepotism, where people give their relatives the good jobs, so to speak. Consider this, in the selection and expertise process, would you want someone that can navigate traveling across the land, that know the difference between north and south and east and west? Or would you want somebody to say, I think this is north, or I think we're going the right direction? Would you want someone that takes you in circles during the time of the final Exodus? What about getting on a ship? Or even if you were on a plane, would you want someone trying to fly a plane who have no idea how to navigate crossing the ocean? How and what direction to turn the plane? But specifically the ships, container ships. Would you want someone that's going in circles and say, oh, my bad, we're back in the United States, or we're back on the Western Hemisphere? Or would you want someone that understands this is the direction we must go to reach the promised land? There'll be time we will be traveling east, and then we will veer towards the south. We will go across the ocean through the Mediterranean Sea and down the Suez Canal, the Red Sea. And we will come to the shores that are close proximity to the mountain of Yahuah, Mount Sinai, currently known as Jabal Allah's. Watch, O Yashar'al. But to get there, to do that, we must load upon ships. Even before we can load on ships, we must travel. Many of us will travel across land intermittently, O Yashar'al. There will be food and water that needs to be managed and rationed. There will be behaviors necessary for repairing autos or vehicles. There will be things necessary to care for the women who are giving birth along the journey, to care for the women who needs nurturing and food, to breastfeed the babies, to care for the young men, teaching them how to be men and not be afraid, how to hunt, how to fish, how to guard and protect a set-apart group. There's a lot of intricate details, a lot of moving parts, oh Yashar'al. And you see, I showed this example of this circle of a wheel within a wheel, talking about Ezekiel's wheel. Selection and expertise will come to be, oh Yashar'al. We must understand in this whole process of selection and expertise, understanding the use of milk, meat, and expectations. You see, trying to get someone to do something prematurely and they have not been taught by someone skilled in that specific dynamics, in that specifically task, is wrong. Milk, we teach a little bit at a time, and then we intensify it more and more. We perfect the teaching. We perfect the expertise. Meat, my brothers and sisters. Trying to get a baby to chew on meat, and they have no teeth, and they're fresh out of the mother's womb, would be counterproductive, ludicrous, and wicked. And in the scriptures, it talks about literal milk and meat, but it talks about spiritual milk and meat. You see, there are so many mores, teachers, pastors, who cannot discern what the Spirit of Yahusha is doing. Instead of just saying, I don't know, I'm praying to learn, I'm waiting for the Most High to direct someone to me or to enlighten me in the scriptures, they rather just say, this ain't gonna happen. I heard one more tell me they don't see Yashar'al coming together because these quote-unquote Negroes don't know how to act, and I can't see them coming together until Yahusha comes back. So because he couldn't see it, he didn't believe it was going to happen. I saw another person who calls himself a Watchman saying, oh, no, we ain't going to come together until Yahusha come back. But yet they say that we are the bride of Yahusha. Have you ever noticed a husband grabbing his bride saying, let me clean her and wash her up and let me get her prepared. Let me get her prepared so I can marry her? Or in a natural wedding, do we see that there were the parents or parent of the bride turning over their daughter to the husband, prepared and ready to be the wife of that husband? I say to you, O Yashar'al, the Almighty Father, the Spirit of Yahuah, sending Yahusha's name, works in us, through us, one towards another, to clean us up, to prepare us, where we find ourselves washed in the blood of the Lamb, with our robes white by the atoning blood of Yahushua Mashiach. And I'm saying this to say, O Yashar'al, there's a process. And I saw this person that said to Watchman, say, I don't believe it's going to happen. Well, I've seen many say they don't believe things just because they can't discern or fail to discern. Are you not aware? You show me a brother or a sister that cannot receive the truth, and I will show you by the favor of Yahusha that that person has a stronghold that they will not release. That person has a hidden agenda or an intent or a scar that they won't let go of, that they won't get under the blood of the Lamb and seek forgiveness. This is why many cannot accept correction. But this will not stop the discipline that is promised by the Almighty Father. Read the 12th chapter of Hebrews, O Yashar'al. Read it thoroughly and read it again. And you'll notice that it even says that no discipline for the present seemeth joyous, but afterwards it yields the peaceable fruit of righteousness to those that are trained by it. Read Revelation 3:19. It says, Yahuah, discipline those whom he loved. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al. In that discipline, we must learn how to give milk and when to give meat, how to get individuals to step back. They may have to go back to the milk to get to the meat. They may have to go back to where they've fallen and repent to begin to see the dynamics of the spiritual meat that the Almighty Father has for us. And this is important and essential in the selection and expertise process of Yashar'al. My brothers and sisters, understanding the use of milk and meat beyond the egos of these community heads, pastors and deacons and priests, and people who have these titles. Some of the titles are indeed legitimate by Yahuah, but they stumble, they fall, and their egos have taken over. Sometimes it's the people that they're leading, pushing them, pumping up their egos, and don't realize it. Anytime any leader, any community head, any pastor, any deacon, any bishop, or any spiritual influencer speak more about what they have done in themselves or their brand or their logo or their communities more than Yahusha HaMashiach, this is wicked, and it fights against the coming together of Yashar'al, and they will be corrected or removed, or those who seek to do the will of the Almighty Father and obey will come away from them. So either there will be a purging or a coming away, or they will be disciplined. Some sickness unto death, and some will yield to the discipline and rise up stronger and do what they are ordered to do. And this requires understanding the difference between milk and meat beyond one's ego. Let me read these words to you, O Yashar'al. 1 Corinthians 3:2-3 says, I fed you with milk and not with solid food, for until now you were not able to receive it, and even now you are still not able, for you are still fleshly. For since there's envy and strife and divisions among you, are you not fleshly and walking according to man? 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 2 and 3. Now let me read Hebrews 5:13. For everyone partaking of milk is inexperienced in the word of righteousness, for he is a babe. You see, there are those who don't believe they're babes. Because they're unskilled and their egos have taken over, they are acting as a child. And you find more than anything, sometimes the women speaking among themselves say that that man is childish. It's the boy in him. And they laugh it off and play it off, not realizing that should be corrected. I've seen a community where the community head of these communities is branded with a logo, and he's always talking about himself. And I've seen not only him, but other communities similar, failing to realize too much is given, much is required. But this particular community, they were playing with toys. Toys, my brothers and sisters. We are at war, and this is end times. They weren't playing with their children. There might have been a child or two shown, but they were showing grown men playing with toys. Yashar'al, Yashar'al, is that not childish? But tell that person that you're acting as a babe, and they will argue you down. Yashar'al, Yashar'al, we must know when we're acting as a child versus one who is ready for meat and taking the nutrition of spiritual meat and exercising behaviors and attitudes that are mature and strong in set apartness. Come with me to 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 1-5. And it reads, having put aside then all evil and all deceit and hypocrisies and envying and all evil words as newborn babes, desire the unadulterated milk of the word in order that you grow by it, if indeed you have tasted that the master is good, drawing near to him a living stone, rejected indeed by men, but chosen by the Almighty One and precious. You also, as living stones, are being built up, a spiritual house, a set-apart priesthood, to offer up spiritual slaughter offerings acceptable to the Almighty One through Yahusha Mashiach. Shaul said, I die daily. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al. Who among us can identify milk and meat? Who among us can admit there are times we must go back to the milk and find out where we've fallen? Who among us understands that correction comes no matter how old you are? As long as we have breath, there are things to learn. The selection process, expertise, there are those who have overcome strongholds that have kept them or slowed them down from doing things that they were given to do. Expertise, my brothers and sisters, believe and receive. Things will come together. The hand of the Almighty Father will work through his chosen leaders. They will rebuke the disobedient and give instruction for them to yield, repent, and rise up stronger, or for the groups to come away from them, or to purge them from our midst. Yashar'al, in this final exodus, there will be emotions. Prepare to say goodbye for many leaders out there who think they're strong, but whose ego function as obstacles for unity to come among Yashar'al. Many of them will begin to die. Some have already begun to die. Many will die. So prepare to say your goodbyes. This is the time now to start asking them questions. Oh leader, oh pastor, oh bishop, oh spiritual influence, if you are gone, what would be your final words to me, who have been following you, supporting you for all these years? And see if they respond with words that encourages you and point you to the Almighty Father in the name of Yahusha. See if they can confirm what expertise that they saw in you that was given out of favor from the Almighty Father. See if they select you for tasks and duties that are necessary beyond their days. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al. You see, talking about selection and expertise is something that many don't want to talk about. Get the argument out now. Get the discussion out now. Purge the wicked conversation and find the harmonic sounds of unity through the leading of the Almighty Father's Spirit working in us. Let us be fitly joined together and demonstrate what the Word says, what the text says, and what the Word says when it makes the text alive, O Yashar'al. It is important to know we must recognize selection and expertise. It is something that is necessary to function successfully, O Yashar'al. Some of you might say, I'm beating this matter in the ground. Some of you might say, I'm talking about a specific pastor or communities too often without mentioning the name. Let me say this before I continue. I have made attempts to reach out to this individual one-on-one and privately. I've tried not once, not twice, but 3 times. One time I spoke to someone who said that they were, at that time, the custodian of this pastor's social media platform and his internet workings. And I said, if you're that gatekeeper, let this pastor know I would like to talk to him one-on-one. And he said he would talk to him. And I had another conversation with the same individual. And he said, well, call the I don't know what they call it, the hall, community hall. That's a term that he used. Call that number you see on the screen when he on Blog Talk or when he on YouTube. Call that number. And you can talk to him. And I called that number, never was able to talk to this individual. And you see, my brothers and sisters, after 3 tries, I was done. I peruse social media, and I look to see if there are changes in individuals, because I do not desire to bear false witness against anyone. But I just want you to know, Yashar'al, those who stick their head out and lift themselves up will be corrected. And he is not the only one. And those who passively and willfully follow wickedness and disobedience in these leaders will discover they have responsibilities to either bring correction or come away. We must also learn, O Yashar'al, to teach and train those with expertise. Those selected by the Almighty Father must learn to teach those that are without, so that they can learn and master the trade or the skill, the abilities that the Almighty Father has given. It is important to train others in order to preserve skills and abilities. The selection process, expertise must be passed on. But there are habits that have been old habits repeatedly. Just as the need to recognize new wineskin and new wine, we will see old wineskin come to an end. Old hats, old behaviors come to an end as we see and begin to see the rising of a great multitude and begin to identify 144,000. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al. Deuteronomy 32, verse 7 and 8 reads, "Remember the days of old. Consider the years of many generations. Ask your father, and let him show you your elders, and let them say to you, when the Most High gave the nations their inheritance, when he separated the sons of Adam, he set the boundaries of the peoples according to the number of the children of Yashar'al. Ask your father, let him show you." Trained from one generation to the next. Proverbs 9:9 says, "Give instruction to a wise one, and he is wiser still. Teach a righteous one, and he increases in learning." It is important to train others to preserve the skills and abilities, my brothers and sisters. Proverbs 9:9 again, "Give instruction to a wise one, he is wiser still. Teach a righteous one, and he increases in learning." Come with me to Proverbs 22:6, my brothers and sisters. Proverbs 22:6 read, "Train up a child in the way he should go. Even when he is old, he turns not away from it." Let us not despise the discipline, the refinement that is ahead of us, O Yashar'al. Let us get beyond our emotions. It would be wise to learn how to manage jealousy and envy. You see, some will be jealous, some will be envious. Seemed like when the term moray was introduced as people were awakened, there was a lot of brothers wanting to be called a moray, a teacher. Then there was those that said, "No, I'm an apostle. I'm a bishop. No, I'm a pastor." There's a lot of scrambling for titles. There were many people who looked at the gifts mentioned in Romans 12, 1 Corinthians 12, Ephesians 4, and they looked at just those gifts and said, "These are the most important gifts." And they failed to look at everything that the Almighty Father has. There are a lot of details. There's a lot of working parts for the building up of a set-apart nation to demonstrate from the least to the greatest how we function as one body in unity, led by the Spirit of the Almighty Father. So we must and we will learn to adjust and adapt. We will learn how to repent. Get under the blood and be washed by the blood of the Lamb. We will learn how to rise up strong in the spirit of Yahusha and work together. You see, many spend too much time trying to defend their erroneous actions or even telling people that they know what they're supposed to do. When someone starts telling you the Most High told them to do something and it does not line up with the ways and what the Almighty Father is saying, know that they're sadly mistaken. I seen one brother make every attempt to build an assembly, but he'll say it's not a church. Since church is pagan, okay, but you're building an assembly when you start bringing people together. Whether you deny it or not, the function, the action is building an assembly. I heard a brother say that I know my calling. My calling is to tell people what to watch out for, what's going on in the world. We're not to spend all of our time regurgitating the news or different people's positions and videos and tapes saying, look at this and look at that. Hey, go over here and look at that. Do we not know when we start talking, spending more time talking about what's happening in the world than seeking to discern what the Spirit of Yahushua is saying and working towards unity? If we spend more time talking about what's going on, that's time wasted. We must know how to recognize the signs of the time. We must know more than anything to discern daily what the Spirit of Yahushua is saying to us and walk in obedience to lift him up. For in lifting him up, he draws all men to himself. And as we are drawn to him, we meet up. We find that we are among the gathered. For some of us, that will prove to be true. We will get beyond jealousy and envy. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al, it would be wise to learn how to manage our time. What are we doing, O Yashar'al? You see, some will say, who are you to say that the Most High didn't tell me to do this? To the discerning shepherds, to the discerning leaders, to the discerning brother, to the discerning sister, to the vessel of the Almighty Father, he reveals to us things that are set apart, his ways. And it is his intent for his children to be focused on him and not caught up contributing to distractions that consume time unwisely. I've seen many outspoken individuals speak boldly, but what is sad is that they make no mention of who it is they would follow or listen to, or they're willing to receive correction from. They make it look like they got it and no one else have it. Even though they might say it in words, their actions seem to close out correction. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al, watch as the hand of the Almighty Father bring our focus where it should be. Watch as selection and expertise come not only with trades and tasks and duties, but also in the spiritual walk. There will be assignments. Individuals used, directed, guided by the Almighty Father to forge together, to build together a set-apart nation that will come from the four corners of the earth. I speak about Proverbs 4:23 and 27 often. In this segment, I posted it and I will read it. It says, watch over your heart with all diligence, for out of it are the sources of life. Now, my brothers and sisters, you will find some scripture that talks about the heart is deceitfully wicked, and the heart this and the heart that. In this case, when you seek to discern what the Spirit is saying, when it say watch over your heart, it's talking about that inward man, that spirit. For that inward man is linked to the Spirit of Yahuah in Yahusha's name. And out of that inward man that is joined with the Spirit of Yahuah, out of it comes the sources of life, which is from Yahuah. In the name of Yahusha, that source of life flows out of us. Proverbs 4:23 again say, watch over your heart with all diligence, for out of it are the sources of life. It goes on to say, turn away from you a crooked mouth and put perverse lips far from you. There are many leaders, teachers, spiritual influencers who speak erroneously and wickedly against the obedient. That's a crooked mouth. When they don't understand, when they can't discern, so they forge their own narratives, that's perverse lips. Changing expectations, contributing things that make one slothful, lazy, and distract one from focusing on what the Almighty Father has for you. It goes on to say, let your eyes look forward, your eyelids look straight before you. Consider the path of your feet, and all your ways are established. The path of your feet. Who forges that path? Could you walk that path without a breath? It is the Almighty Father. Are you not aware in Deuteronomy 8:3, man doesn't live by bread alone, but every breath that comes from the mouth of the Almighty Father. And in that breath, he sets the path before us. And for those who are obedient, our ways become established, confirmed, and reaffirmed. It would be wise to learn how to manage our time. He goes on to say, do not turn to the right or to the left. Turn your foot away from evil. Focus on him, and he will guide you. We will learn how to manage our time. We will come to discover what is expected, more so than we know now. If you didn't know it already, it's coming. Watch, O Yashar'al, in the midst of all the uncertainty, in the midst of all the destruction, and in the midst of end time prophecies being fulfilled, the promises of our Father, Yahuah, the Almighty One, in Yahusha's name, we will learn, and we will witness his promises come to be. Let me read Colossians 4:5 again. It says, walk in wisdom toward those who are outside, redeeming the time, my brothers and sisters. Let us manage our time. It would be wise to learn to come away from distractions. There are those among us contributing to distractions and don't realize it. Some are just creating entertainment propaganda. Some are just as bad as those in the outer court, those outside the family of Yashar'al. And some of them don't even realize it. But soon, as things get intense, people are going to want answers. They're going to want to ask questions. They're going to weigh the answers and seek to discern which answers are true. I heard a person say at one point, when he was told that it's not going to be a pre-tribulation rapture, he said, I kind of like the rapture theory first and better. If you're chasing what you kind of like, and he wasn't corrected in such a way to let him know that those who preach this pre-trib rapture things are wicked, erroneous teachers. Some will even go so much as to say, well, the scriptures say, let every man be a liar and Yahuah be true. And say, well, that's what the word says. Without regards to Yahuah works in us. So when he works in us, there are those of us who he yield. Who yield, and he guides us to speak the truth. There are those who make fun of it. Scriptures talk about any house divided against itself can't stand. So you see some leaders still congregate with each other, still saying we're close friends. But one is preaching a slothful message when it comes to the return of Yahusha by saying any day now we'll be snatched. And the other one is saying, no, it's the second coming. That's contrary to scripture. If we are different in our position of belief, we must not walk and say we agree to disagree. There are those who would even say, let's not get hung up on doctrine. We are all Hebrews. Let's not get hung up on doctrine. That's doctrine. Teachings, my brothers and sisters. Teachings come from the select few, the chosen. And these teachings bring expertise and skills on how to read the text, but how to yield and consecrate before the Almighty Father in the name of Yahusha, and discern how to interpret what must be done. Remember, O Yashar'al, there's work to be done. Movement is coming. Proximity will prove to be of great importance in the coming of days. Remember, Isaiah 26:3-4, my brothers and sisters. Isaiah 26:3-4 reads, "The one steadfast of mind you guard in perfect peace, for he trusts in you. Trust in Yahuah forever. For in Yah, Yahuah is a rock of ages." Remember, my brothers and sisters, let us trust, focus, be able to discern, and move about in obedience to the Almighty Father. Come with me to Proverbs 3:5-6. 3:5-6 as I come towards a close. It says, "Trust in Yahuah with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding. Know him in all your ways, and he makes all your paths straight." Notice it say, know him. It didn't say, let the text drive you. It say, know him. He is almighty. He is the beginning and the end. He is alive, and he makes the letter alive. In these coming days, O Yashar'al, things will begin to make sense to you. You who are drawn, you who have a task to fill among the ranks of the 144,000 in great multitude. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al, never forget, examine all things. If you don't know how, ask questions, seek out wise counsel. Selection and expertise will be magnified across the face of the earth for those who will be gathered, for those who must fulfill certain end-time tasks and duties before they take their last breath. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al, I salute your patience, your tolerance. I salute the zeal that you have to pursue set apartness. I pray for your good health, your strength, and your endurance. I pray that you have the wisdom to know whatsoever state that you're in physically, that these earthen vessels will go back to the ground, whatever pain you're in. Lift up Yahusha Mashiach and let the world know, in spite of whatever condition I'm in, whether base or bound, I will give all praise to the Almighty Father. I will show you how to demonstrate true worship and obedience to him in spite of my condition. Let us take that position, O Yashar'al, and let us pray. There is no harm in saying, nevertheless, not my will, but your will be done, Almighty Father. I pray for you, my brother, my sister, my family. We are facing some extraordinary challenges, but never forget the promises that were made, and never forget he has given us sight, ears to see, and a spirit with the ability to discern. If we only know how to yield to him. He knows the heart. He knows the very intent. On that note, I say to you, O Yashar'al, stay tuned. Details and processes will be made clear. My brother, my sister, get connected, get involved. Help me, O Yashar'al. If you are doubtful of what you should do, pray. Present your skills and abilities. Present what supplies or resources you would contribute towards the gathering of Yashar'al, for those who will shelter in place, for those that will be moving. What is your contribution? Has your leadership, your pastor, your bishop, your deacon, have they recognized the expertise that the Almighty Father has given you? Have they made it known to the group? Have they taught how to exhort one another, to encourage one another in the abilities and tasks that the Most High Father has given us? Yashar'al, oh Yashar'al, help me. If at the very least, can you say you've contributed towards the building up of a set-apart nation? That you've contributed to those who would be of the final Exodus? I have a cash tag with the Cash App, White Rose Family. Help me if at the very least that's all you could do. And I assure you, your contribution will go towards the building up of those in this Western Hemisphere that will begin to travel and journey towards the state of Virginia, the Commonwealth of Virginia, where there will be a gathering, where there be expertise, where there will be individuals with the skill to know how to arrange containers on the ship to fit upwards of 20 to 25,000 people on one container ship. And there will be an armada of container ships with Yashar'al on them, headed back to the promised land. And I said this many, many years ago, and chills went through my body when I began to see that the subject of container ships have now come to the forefront. For such a time as this, O Yashar'al. And I've even seen a picture where someone don't want to show container ship, they showed cruise ship. Cruise ships can hold 3,000 to 5,000. Wouldn't it be kind of selfish to put all our energy into cruise ships and you couldn't really get enough to hold the great multitudes that will be coming from the West Coast headed to the promised land, or from different parts of the world heading from the promised land? They would fill up fast. But I prayed and I sought the Almighty Father dealing ships, and I spoke of container ships. And now we see they are at the forefront. There are ways to configure them. We give room for a multitude of people, and I'm saying like 20,000 people, to be able to walk and stretch their legs while on this journey. There are ways to ventilate the containers so that the air can flow, so that the winds of Yahuah can blow, breeze through to give the fresh air that is needed for such journey. I spoke of the jet stream slowing down, and by it calming, a ship can glide across the ocean with ease. And I can say this firsthand, knowing that when the winds are calm, a boat can go across the water with ease. I know this firsthand by my own experience, having possession of a boat and taking it across the lake. And I mentioned that in my previous recording. Yashar'al, you might say, he's just ranting. I'm just trying to emphasize to you selection and expertise, details and processes, discerning what it takes and what it will take to successfully fulfill this final Exodus. I'll stop and pause right here, but there is so much work to be done. Help me, O Yashar'al, and discover the components, the working pieces that will come together. In the name of Yahusha, I come to you. My name is Symmanayah. On that note, I say to you, be encouraged. Our redemption draws nearer than you realize. Shalom. Shalom, my brother, my sister, my family.